Hey, it's me, Susie Singer-Carter from Love Conquers Alls. And if you haven't heard about Anchor, which is what this podcast you're about to listen to is on, it's super easy to make a podcast. It's free, has creation tools, they distribute for you, you can make money, and with no minimum listenership, and it's got everything in one place. It's great. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and let me know how it goes. I think you're going to like it. And now, here's our podcast.
When the world has got you down.
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here's your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and Cassie Cruz.
All you gotta do is sing a song.
Hello, everybody. I am Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Cassie Cruz, and this is Love Conquers Alls, the podcast where we take a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's.
We keep it real, and we keep it really, really positive, and we share feelings, fears, frustrations.
And the latest news and resources.
And super great guests.
And we have a super great guest today. I'm super excited to hear from her. Oh my God.
I know. I feel like I've known her and I've never stood in the same room, but we connected via Alzheimer's. And I'm talking about Whitney Glandon. And Whitney is based in New York City. She's a dance artist, a senior living program director, instructor, producer, choreographer, and practically born into the senior living community. I'm not kidding. She'll tell you. She's grown up surrounded by senior adults on a day-to-day basis, and she continues to do that in a glorious way. Welcome, Whitney.
Hi, thank you. I'm so
Hi,
excited to be here.
How did you get started, Whitney?
Well, I was literally born in a senior living community. My grandmother started some of the first long-term care communities in North Carolina in 1958.
What?
At that time, yes. At that time, they were called family care homes. And she had always wanted to become a doctor, but didn't have the money to go to school. But she was a really brilliant woman.
I'm loving her. Oh, she sounds wonderful.
Yeah, she was extraordinary and someone that I looked up to and I spent so much of my life with every day.
What is her name? Tell us her name.
Her name was Thelma Moore, and she passed away about 20 years ago. But I do feel like she's watching me, kind of one of my guardian angels. And she always said to me as a little girl, she said, you will be in this field one day. And I really didn't know what she was talking about. As a little kid, I mean, I literally grew up in the senior living community. She built 5 of them from the ground up. She did the floor plans.
What?
Yeah, she was incredible. And my mom,
Selma, we love you. Thank you.
I know, right?
Right.
She was way ahead of her time, way ahead. And so my mom, the youngest of her brothers and sisters who were much older, my mom grew up in the senior living communities, the 5 that my grandmother had built. So my mom grew up surrounded by seniors as well. And then she went on to become the activity director when she got older. And she married my dad. And my dad, they both became administrators for the state of North Carolina for long-term care.
Wow.
And then my uncle got into the business, and he actually was president of long-term care for North Carolina for a few years. He still to this day has a 200-bed nursing home in North Carolina.
So, what an amazing family. And I just want to understand something. Did you actually live at these centers as well, or just close to them? And then you were always there?
I feel like I practically lived there. I mean, we had our own house. My parents still live in the same house that they've lived in for 40 something years. But one of the senior living communities was right next door to us. And the other 4 were up the street, less than a half a mile.
So it was just like you were all together, one big community, and felt like a village. That was your village. That was your community.
Absolutely.
That's what your grandmother did. So it was all generations together.
Yes. And
I
see,
love
my
that.
parents, it was amazing because.
That's amazing. That's exactly what we need. The great example for living.
Exactly. And so, these were it was like having bonus grandparents, like tons of them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
it's very kibbutz-like. It's kibbutz-like.
Exactly.
And at the age of 9, you were what? What were you doing?
So at the age of 9, I had been observing my mom teach. At that time, it was called jazzercise.
Mm-hmm.
And she was teaching these amazing jazzercise classes, and I would go and watch and participate.
The equivalent of Zumba today.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And after observing her instructing these exercise classes, I was like, I want to do this. So my mom said, okay. Well, she would go and get me a radio, and it was kind of like I had a captive audience, and all the seniors knew me. They knew me from a tiny baby. And so I would get in there and start doing movements, and they would copy me. I would be like, okay, do this, do that, do this to music. And I loved the fact that they were engaging with me, and I was going off of their energy. They were going off of my energy, and I started leading classes. That was like my thing.
Oh,
but also
Whitney, I just want to say something. I think it's so beautiful because one of the things I found, once I started really getting immersed into the community, realizing how few children come. And when they do, there's a lot of fear.
Right. Yes.
For who?
For the children.
Why?
Because they're not used to being around older people.
Exactly.
They need to be. We need to include everybody again.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get back to that.
Absolutely. And so, when I was doing these classes but I was also, my parents led, they hosted all the events. They led the activities, and they would give me daily chores, so, I was sweeping the floor. I was washing dishes. I was learning to do, I had a lot of responsibility, which at a very young age, having that responsibility and being around people of all ages, it taught me so much, and it set me up really for what I'm doing today.
Did you love that you had that experience, or do you feel that you were burdened?
No, I loved every moment of it. I am so thankful that I grew up in such a unique environment. It taught me so much discipline. It taught me respect for others, even though I didn't really realize that the seniors were so much older than I was. They were my friends. They were family, because my parents created this beautiful environment. My parents and my grandmother, we shared meals together. I would help set the table because it was these were small spaces, not like the large senior living communities like that I work in today, but which is great, but it's very different. It was a family setting. And it really did set me up I feel like for success today in my own life and what I'm doing with my seniors now, in a very different, similar setting, but on a larger scale, on a grander scale. My grandmother had, people, the workers, people who would run the communities that would live in each of the homes, the houses. And then sometimes, people would just decide, okay, I don't want to do this anymore and leave. So my parents would have to go in and live inside, live in the community, cook the food, do all the medication management. I mean, my parents, they did everything. So there were many times where maybe in the middle of the night, I'd hear my parents, get up and say, oh, we got to head over to, such and such just left. And I remember going during the night with my parents to the community and camping out there and helping prep breakfast the next morning, helping with lunch, doing the chores. But we were so involved. I kind of thought everybody did that.
When you went to school, you weren't homeschooled, right?
Correct. I was not.
Okay. So when you would go to school and you had friends over, did they find it strained?
Yes, they were scared. They were
Yeah.
actually scared of the
Yeah.
seniors. And I just didn't, I didn't really understand that. Not all of them, but I can remember there were about 3 or 4 friends that when I did take them to the senior living community, they were really frightened.
Or repelled. There's like a ooh factor. And I think it's that, to me, that is heartbreaking. And when my mother was first into a assisted living, and I remember some of the caregivers had their children with them, there'd be 5-year-olds who go, and one of the residents may be agitated, and a little 5-year-old would just step right in because they understood.
And they want to help, and they want to help, and they want to be part. And as long as we make it okay and fun and interesting, that's the experience you had, that it was all normal. It was
right.
They were your friends. You cared for them. You took care of them, and they also then imparted knowledge or fun, or And was that really cool for you when they followed your movement? Because I want to talk about movement and music, and that type of stuff. That's that connectivity that all of us have inside of us. Music connects us. Movement connects us.
Yes.
I'm a dancer, like you're a dancer. Probably not exactly like you're a dancer, but I know Susie's a dancer, and movement connects me to me.
It totally does. Wait one on that, because we got so much to talk about at dance.
Beautiful.
And so we need to take a break.
Okay.
You're listening to Love Conquers All. We'll be back with Whitney Glandon after this. We're back.
Yay! And you're listening to Love Conquers All with us.
With us. I'm Susie Singer-Carter and Cassie Cruz, and we're speaking with Whitney Glandon, who's a dance artist who is in the senior living community and industry and has so much knowledge to share with us. And we're going to talk about how she's incorporated her dance and movement with her long-term care communities. We want to talk about your latest project called Caught.
Okay.
Yeah. You started at 9 teaching, like leading movement classes, right?
Yes.
With seniors. And then where did it go from there in terms of dance?
So from there, I was in college. So I went into college, and, I said, I've got to keep seniors somehow in my life, when I was in my, getting my dance degree. And I was at Columbia College in South Carolina, and for my junior practicum, I had started volunteering at a local assisted living facility, and I started teaching a movement class for seniors. Mainly, the majority of the seniors in the class had Alzheimer's and other related dementias. And I started doing that. And then even after I graduated, I continued to keep teaching this class. Now, I was so inspired immensely by 5 specific ladies and their spirit to thrive. And they had severe Alzheimer's. And by the end of that year, I choreographed a modern dance piece for one of the concerts at our college, and I incorporated these 5 women.
Wait, they physically were part of your performance?
Yes.
Oh my!
I had to coax one of the ladies the night of the show when the senior living community was bringing them to the theater. Yeah. I had to coax one of the ladies with a chocolate bar to get her on stage.
Did you? Was that part of the performance then as well? Did that become part of it?
Not the chocolate bar. Yeah. But once she got on stage,
then she remembered.
Dementia was gone. It was gone.
You're kidding me. So basically, so you had to get her on the stage with the chocolate bar because she had no idea. And then as soon as the movement started or the music started for your piece, she got in line.
Yes. Let me tell you, these 5 women were incredible. And I had them placed on the stage. And when they saw me and when they got on the stage with the lighting, with the music, it was very simple movement, and it was more about the engagement. I didn't really care what they did as long as they were present on the stage. There was not a dry eye in the theater. So many people came up to me and was like, oh God, this makes me think of my grandmother. My grandmother has Alzheimer's, or my grandfather has Alzheimer's, whatever. It stirred up so much emotion. And but they trusted me, and we had developed a beautiful bond and trust that was unbreakable. And the experience gave these 5 women, I feel, a purpose to be seen and accepted by others, and showed that just because one is living with memory loss, you don't have to be defined by your disease.
Ah, that's great. That's beautiful.
And
yeah.
It gave me an idea from that little performance that I did at school. I think this was the year 1999, 2000. Gave me the idea that when I moved to Manhattan, I said, I'm going to do something on an even grander scale. And I had the idea, and that's where my Tuesdays at 4, the creative dance art group that I started here in Manhattan 10 years ago, which is still running to this day, that specific dance piece back in 1999 gave me the idea to start my Tuesdays at 4 class, which I am doing to this present day here in the city.
Can you tell us about Tuesdays at 4?
Yes. So Tuesdays at 4 was started 10 years ago, and it's a group, a class that I had started with 2 other people, 2 other like-minded individuals, Marnie and Frank, that worked with me at that time at the senior living community.
This is
and
in
our
New York?
mission,
This is in New York?
here in New York. And so our mission statement is to bring generations together through various forms of dance, art, poetry, improvisation, theater, and music inspired by stories and personal experiences. And we centered the whole group around the motif of support, delving deeper into our own creativity and imagination, free of judgment. So
can I come? I want to come too.
Yes.
I want you to come to LA and do that here so that we can, because I
would love
amazing
to do that.
seniors.
I would love to do that.
Oh, we're going to have to make
a
branch out here then. That's what we're going to have to do.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would love to do that. So we started this group. So the reason we called it Tuesdays at 4, we went through all these different names, but every Tuesday it was a surprise. Our seniors, and then I had 20 outside volunteers that were helping as well, that wanted to be a part of the group. So it was a huge class, and every week we wouldn't tell people what we were going to do. So it became this thing, like a surprise. What's going to happen during Tuesdays at 4? And the residents, the seniors were like, let's just call it Tuesdays at 4. And I said, okay, that's it. Done.
And you know what's poignant about that is the whole idea of like 4 o'clock being the sundown time.
Yes.
Right?
Right. And
yes.
And we had people, we had a whole mixture of seniors in the group. We had people at that time when I started it. There were a few with Alzheimer's. There were the majority didn't have Alzheimer's, but it was a beautiful mixture. And now, though, the class, which, sadly, a lot of the people from my original group passed away. I still have 2 people from the original group. One is 100 and one is 103.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yes. And they will say to this day, the 100-year-old right now got severe dementia, but the 103-year-old to this day will tell you that Tuesdays at 4 gave her the will to live. And the lady who is 100 now, who has a little bit of dementia, we did a flash mob in Union Square, and we made all the major news stations like 9 years ago. And to this day, even though with the dementia that she has, when she sees me, she knows that she's like, it's Whitney, and we danced, and there were cops. And when she says cops, she means the cops that were protecting us during our flash mob here in Manhattan in Union Square. And some people are like, cops?
It's impactful.
What is she talking about?
What you're doing.
I said, well, what she's talking about? I said, she knows exactly what she's talking about. She was part of the security team. I made her like part of the security team with all the cops during our flash mob. And to this day, at 100 years old with a little dementia, she still says, Whitney and dancing and cops. We had cops. I said, you're right. We did have the NYPD.
That is so freaking beautiful. I love that.
But
I love it so much.
we went on to do like all these different shows and all these really beautiful venues here in Manhattan. And now, of course the group evolves. It's 10 years. And so now the majority of people in our group now have memory loss. And but it's like when you're dancing, when you have dance and you have music, there is no dementia.
Correct.
They're present. It brings them to their source, and then brings them at this moment.
What's interesting to me is that I know, because my mother was a singer, and I always talk about the magic of music and how that's, to this day, my mom's Alzheimer's is pretty severe now. And the way that I can get into a conversation, if there is one to be had, I use music. And so I imagine that the music cues the memory of the movement.
Absolutely. And you find what people's strengths are. Right. So,
yeah.
And in our class, how do we set people up for success? That is what we're looking to do. Right. We're not looking to say, oh, well, they can't remember this or they can't remember that. It's never, do you remember? We never say, do you remember? It's all about being in the present moment. That's what every class that we do. It's
and what
about
is possible. What is possible at that moment for them?
Right. Let's find what they can do. Mm-hmm. How are we going to set them up for success? That's what it's all about.
Do you work with people in chairs?
Yes. We have a lot of people. We have people who can stand and move, and then we have people in wheelchairs. And we encourage everybody to move. So everybody, doesn't matter if you have a walker, a wheelchair, a cane. We use the walkers in our dances. We use the wheelchairs in our movement. We use the canes. Everybody can move. Everybody can create. Everybody can dance.
And everybody is equal. And
yes.
They're not the same, but everybody's equal. And I love that, how much you are loving and making that loving community and making that space, because not only just for seniors in that situation, setting people up to succeed, that's a recipe for just everybody in life.
Absolutely.
That's what you just shared with us. I'm super impressed with all the love and the efforts that you've put to make that happen. Really starting from your grandmother. Great.
Yeah. It all started from my grandmother. And another thing that we talk about in our class, and that also one reason I started Caught Dance Project, the full name of the piece is Caught Between Two Worlds, because one of my senior adults who recently passed at the age of 99, but he had dementia, and he said to me one day, he said, Whitney, it's like I'm caught between two worlds. Mm-hmm. And we had already started working on this project, and I was like, God, that's the name of this piece. And because so many of them, we don't know, we don't have Alzheimer's, so we really can't say. I mean, he was telling me exactly in a very clear moment for him how it felt. And I try to put myself in their shoes, in their place of like, what would that feel like? But one of the reasons we started Caught Dance Project is to learn how to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? So many, I've observed so many times people, families, friends, interacting with their loved one or with a friend who may have this disease. And it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable because we don't know. We don't know what that looks like and how to respond.
Exactly.
We're embarrassed or ashamed or feel guilty and all those feelings that are not pleasant.
Right. And so a colleague of mine who helped start Caught Dance Project with me, Jodie, she's an Alzheimer's specialist, and we work very closely together, and she helps co-lead Tuesdays at 4 with me right now. We we, as I mentioned before, we're always trying to set people up for success, in our classes. And then when we started Caught Dance Project, of trying to show people that in our this dance piece that we did, it's an emotional dance piece that tells the story of one woman's journey through her world of advancing dementia, of how you can still connect with people. You can still have a friendship with someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, just because maybe they don't remember what they ate yesterday, or they may not remember what you said 5 minutes ago. It doesn't mean that you can't have a loving friendship with
or
someone.
even if they don't remember you.
Yeah, or even if they don't remember, when it gets to that point, if they don't, they can feel your energy.
Right.
Yep. Intention.
Yes, and they know if you're real or not, if you're genuine.
You only have to look at a baby, a brand new baby, which I have one in our lives now. My daughter has a baby, and you look at it, and it's all very zen, and they don't, there's no relationship yet, and we're forming a relationship, and you can't have expectations. I don't have any expectations other than I love this little soul right now, right?
Yes.
And I think it's a great metaphor for someone with dementia and Alzheimer's, is that as babies gain, our loved ones that have Alzheimer's and dementia are losing their wane. Exactly. And so if we can just look at it like that, with the same kindness that we look at a baby.
Absolutely.
That's the way I look at my mother now. And I just say, for any time she gives me something, it's like, oh, look, the baby smiled. Well, oh, look, my mom just said, I love you.
Right.
How great is that?
Exactly.
It causes you, you have to be present in that moment. So
and it's hard being present sometimes, because our minds are so filled with this. We must do this task. We must do that. That's how this looks. Oh, we need, and if, what will everybody else think? And how am I going to fit into that? Those are the traps of not being present. And it's
the traps of society and our the way we're socially formed. And I think what you're doing, Whitney, is such a gift, because it's giving people it's changing the conversation, which is so important about aging and in all aspects of aging, and that that we need to embrace it, because we are all heading there.
That's right.
And we need to understand it and not be afraid of it, because it's natural.
And beyond that, I want to say thank you for showing us what love really looks like. What you're showing and what you're doing, that, and what your grandma did and what your parents did and what they built and the community, they're showing us what love really looks like. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I just, like I said, I say thank you to my parents. Thank you to my grandmother, to my uncle, who is still in this field, Amazing. And it just, I feel right at home with my seniors, and
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's my calling.
It's
really
beautiful.
Feel like it's my gift.
It's our gift to be able to see that too. And thank you for sharing that gift with us. And I want to ask you a question about sundown time, because you mentioned that, and I want to discuss that in 1 second, right after this break.
Hey, we're back, and you're listening to Love Conquers Alls. I'm Susie Singer Carter, and you're listening to me and my co-host, the lovely Cassie Cruz. And we're speaking with Whitney Glandon.
You're doing Tuesdays at 4 in New York City. This is a prime time in the seniors' day.
Sundowning. Yes. I've been in many a memory care unit at that time. And you start to see people, they get extremely agitated, wandering, the want to go home, to get out, to looking for things becomes it becomes worse around that time.
So you chose that specific time to do something to redirect that energy and that source of loss or whatever they might be looking for, which is probably they want to probably go home to go to bed, or they want to shut down, or however they want to, end their day, right? Or however that is, like wrapping their day up or something. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but for that reason,
I feel like that time kind of chose us. Because we were trying to figure out a time to do the group, and 4:00 just seemed to be, I mean, I'm just being just completely honest with you here. 4:00 seemed like the best time to do it for everyone. But for the people who do it, it's interesting that it did kind of happen at that time, because now so many of the people in the group do have memory loss, or early stages of memory loss or Alzheimer's. It does give them a redirection at that time in the group, so they're getting music, they're getting dance. So if they were in their apartment at that time on a Tuesday, now they're getting music and dance and other things to redirect them.
I think it's fantastic, because they are then reconnecting in a loving way, in a way that touches them, that they can become present.
Right.
And have purpose.
Yes.
There's a purpose. Yeah.
We all want purpose in our lives.
That's right. It gives people a sense of belonging, of importance, of family. We're a family in the group. People start to feel youthful, happy, free, as we work together to build trust. And, I want to tell you one quick story if we have time.
We do.
Yes.
We had a man, he's since then passed away, but he was in the group for 8 years, and he had Alzheimer's. And we did this movement phrase, and everybody was learning the movement phrase, and we ended up making a show and doing it here in the city. But what was so beautiful from this movement phrase is this man who hardly said anything in the class, he would see other seniors in the community, whether it was in the dining room, in the hall, and he would do this specific movement from the phrase when he saw them in other places, and they would do the movement back to him. And it was like they even came to me and they said, it's like we have our own password,
That's fabulous. It's sign language with your body.
Yes. And he remembered it. So it's showing you people can learn with this disease. People can still learn. Just because they have Alzheimer's and dementia, it does not mean that they can't learn. Because when he would see us, he would do that movement every time he saw one of us from the group. And he remembered all of us from the class. Wow.
Please remember, this is so great for everyone listening, because I know a lot of people think, why do I visit? They're not going to remember, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. What Whitney's saying is so valuable. It's so important. It's just redefining how you look at your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife, your sister, brother, whoever it is. You just have to redefine how their life is now, and how you can lean into that life and work with what they have, because it's just, you still can communicate, you still can have joy, and you can have fun.
Absolutely.
And you can connect, your hearts connect, your intention is important, as you said. And you get so much back. I get so much back when I go to visit, not just my mom, but all of the residents that I touch that connect with me. I love them very, very much.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. So now where do people get to see your show?
Well, Tuesdays at 4, we don't have a performance of that happening right now. But with our COT dance project, we're actually, we just did a show at Dixon Place Theater here in Manhattan. And then earlier in the year, we did a show in South Carolina. But right now we're looking for another venue actually to perform COT. But we're about to start fundraising for a dance film that we're going to do. a Caught dance project film.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
And you'll make sure you let us know so we can tell all our listeners where
Absolutely.
your show is performing, so we can, and I'm coming out to New York to watch it.
Yes.
We got to get you out here though too.
I would love to come to LA.
We got to work on that.
Absolutely. maybe we can do our Caught piece sometime in LA at an event.
Okay, let's make that happen. I like that idea.
Let's done. We got 3 power. We're like go girls. We'll get it done. Let's do it.
What's really cool about our project, the lady that I'm dancing with, the other dance artist, is my former dance professor from college.
Aww.
That I'm dancing in the piece with. She and I together choreographed it. So it's, so she saw when I did all the work in school with the Alzheimer patients. It's kind of funny how life is full circle. Just comes right back around. And now we're working together on this really great piece.
I love it. Whitney, you're amazing. We need more time with you. We're going to continue this and keep checking in with you and see what's happening with Caught and your film.
Whitney, thank you for being you. And I thank your grandmother for just teaching you how to love people and be there. We're so
and your
grateful.
Parents.
All the extended parents and grandparents that you had because of the seniors in your life. And of course, we thank you, our listeners, and we hope that you liked our show.
Yes, and if you did, share with other people, subscribe, and also send us any ideas that you want to talk about, things that are bothering you, fears, guilt, whatever, and we'll try to address it.
And you can message us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And please remember, love is powerful and love is contagious.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Whitney.
Thank you.
All you gotta do is sing a song.